Hello everyone on the Infidelity Stories channel. I know many of you will judge me by the end of this video, criticize me, and maybe even curse me. But I deeply regret everything I've done. My name is Fabiana, and I've been married to Alexandra for 2 years. We are a young couple. I'm 25 years old, and he's 32. Our love story began in a simple and unexpected way. We met at work, at a pizzeria where I was a cashier, and he was a delivery driver. We dated for a year and then got married. We've always had a strong bond. I trust him, and he trusts me. We always gave each other space, which helped avoid unnecessary fights. Sometimes, we all need some time alone, especially when married, since I was young, I was a quiet person, very shy about doing anything, especially being intimate with someone. But that all changed when I started dating Alexandra. He was always patient and helped me overcome my traumas and insecurities quickly. At first, our intimate relationship was lukewarm, but not because of my husband, quite the opposite. He always had much more libido than I did, but I think that's normal. Men always think about these things from a young age. This lack of libido slowly started to get in the way of our relationship. He always wanted to do something, and I just wanted to lie down and sleep. I even lied about having headaches just to avoid doing anything, that's when he had some ideas to spice up our relationship. The first was to buy some toys. At first, I didn't like the idea, and we even had a big fight because of it. I asked him if he was crazy, thinking I was just any woman from the street. Those words hurt Alexandra, and he never brought up the subject again. But after that fight, I realized I might have been too rigid. I decided to give his ideas a chance. After all, he just wanted to improve our relationship. We went together to a specialty store, and even though I was a bit embarrassed, I ended up feeling comfortable. When we got there, I was amazed by the huge variety of products. I was shocked. This industry must make millions. We spent a lot of time looking around until I finally chose a small vibrating toy that looked like a lipstick. Alexandra was a bit disappointed with my choice and said, "Honey, look at all the toys and products here. Are you sure you just want this? Let's get a few more things." I told him I'd leave it in his hands, and he could pick anything we'd use without hesitation. He smiled from ear to ear and started walking around the store. We picked up body oils, some lubricants, lingerie, and costumes. At the last aisle, I came across various prostheses of different colors and sizes. It was all new to me. I'd never seen anything like that in person. When I turned around, I saw Alexandra holding a black cyberskin prosthesis. I swear I was surprised and shocked. That prosthesis was huge and thick. It looked like an arm. I looked at him and said, "Honey, who is this for?" and started nervously laughing. He happily replied, "It's for you, just trust me. Relax." I decided to go with it. We were there to find a solution. We paid for everything and went back home, excited, especially Alexandra, whose happiness was obvious from afar. When we got to our apartment, we opened a bottle of wine and prepared some snacks. I was super excited and aroused by the idea, especially with the new toys. But that huge toy Alexandra bought left me intrigued. How many men would accept that? Especially one that big and black. As the hours passed, we talked and drank, and I felt us getting closer. Before continuing this story, I ask you to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. We post true stories every day. Finally, the wine took effect, and surprisingly, all I could think about was trying out those toys. I called Alexandra to go to the bedroom and check out the things we bought. We opened the bags and packages, but I couldn't stop staring at that prosthesis. It was so detailed, the veins, the curves. There was no way that was going to fit. Not even with liters of lube. After a few minutes of looking at the prosthesis, we decided to move forward with the experience. Alexandra, always so patient and caring, asked me if I was really ready. In my mind, I wasn't, but my body was desperately asking to try all those toys. We started kissing passionately. The wine helped take away my insecurity and shame. Alexandra was more intense than usual, squeezing and kissing me hard as if I were the most attractive woman in the world. While he was kissing me, I started staring at that huge toy, wondering how many centimeters it had. Certainly more than 22. My husband isn't big, but he's not small either. Compared to the toy, though, he was much smaller. That drove me crazy. My mind was flooded with absurd thoughts. I couldn't hold back and asked Alexandra to grab the toy. He was surprised and asked, "Which one, my love? You want to try it already? We just started kissing." Without thinking twice, I told him to grab the biggest one. My mind was already consumed by the wine and desires I had never felt before. Without questioning, he grabbed the prosthesis, placed it in front of me, and asked me to touch it, squeeze it, feel what it was like, when I brought my hands close, I noticed the size difference. My hands couldn't even wrap around it. I started squeezing and feeling the details, and that drove me wild. I asked Alexandra, laughing softly, "This can't be real, right? I doubt there's anyone with something this size. It's impossible." He laughed and immediately disagreed, saying there were indeed men like that, and if I doubted it, he would show me. I asked him how he would show me, and Alexandra, excited, got up from the bed, went to the living room to get his phone, came back, lay next to me, and started showing me some adult videos. We started watching together, video after video. I was super aroused and shocked. There really are well-endowed men out there. The videos that fascinated me the most were the ones with more than one man. Seeing two men with a woman made me have thoughts I never could have imagined. Alexandra noticed I was more interested and excited, handed me the phone, and started playing with me. I was already drenched and delirious. I had never felt such a desire to be filled like I did at that moment. While he was kissing my stomach and moving lower, I couldn't take my eyes off the toy lying on the other side of the bed. I gathered the courage to grab the toy and started kissing it. Alexandra noticed right away but kept doing his thing, kissing and licking me eagerly. I tried to put the toy in my mouth, but it didn't fit. I had to open my mouth really wide. When I finally managed, I reached my peak. It was a crazy synchronization. I trembled for seconds. It was the best feeling I had in years. But the fun didn't stop there. I wanted to ride that toy. I was ready. I couldn't stop getting wet. I asked Alexandra to put it in me. I handed it to him without thinking twice, and he started rubbing and pressing the toy against me. Without much effort, the first part went in. I felt like I was being torn apart, but it was so good. I had never felt anything that big before, nothing compared. We spent a few minutes trying to enjoy the toy better, but it was difficult. It didn't fit right. Then, Alexandra had the idea to use a condom. We didn't have any at home, we're married, so we don't use them. I said it wasn't necessary and we could leave it for tomorrow, but he immediately refused, saying I should wait while he got in the car to quickly go to a pharmacy, Alexandra left in a hurry. He even left his slippers in the bedroom. I stayed, watching videos on his phone while waiting for my husband to return. The fire started rising again. The scenes made me extremely wet. Every actor was well endowed. I kept wondering how those women could handle 2, 3, for that size. The idea of being alone with those toys without Alexandra nearby excited me. I decided to grab the toy and try it alone. If those women in the videos could do it, so could I. I positioned it upright and started sitting on it. This time, without any effort, the beginning went in, and in just a few seconds, it was halfway in. Without realizing it, it was all inside. It drove me wild. Without wasting time, I started riding it like a cowgirl, without stopping. In just a few minutes, it took me to the climax, but we women can keep going as many times as we want. We're not like men who stop after just one time. I enjoyed it for a long time until I couldn't take it anymore. I lay on the bed, completely exhausted and sore, staring at the ceiling, disoriented, moments later, I realized Alexandra was taking a long time. The nearest pharmacy was just 5 minutes away. The wine's sleepiness and exhaustion started kicking in. I couldn't stay awake and fell into a deep sleep. I woke up in the morning, startled, looking for Alexandra. When I turned around, I saw him next to me, sleeping, and the bedroom was completely tidy and organized. I went to take a shower, and the wine's hangover hit me hard. In the shower, I kept thinking about the craziness I had done. How could I have used that toy while watching those dirty videos? The regret started to weigh on my mind, but deep down, I found it amazing. Sometimes, new experiences can enliven a couple's personal life, in the following weeks, our days were incredible. We made love almost every day, using the toys, costumes, everything. I started to become addicted. I wanted it all the time. Lust began to take over my life, and it destroyed me. I started thinking that the toy would be 1,000 times better if it were real. My searches on the internet became more explicit, and I got addicted to watching adult videos. I wanted to live that experience at least once. I spent all day thinking about it without guilt or regret. I know it's wrong to Alexandre, but he was the one who ignited this flame. I can't control my desires and intrusive thoughts. Well, everything fell apart when I decided to put this into practice. I'll tell you, it wasn't planned, it just happened, and I was weak and gave in. Exactly 1 month ago, my husband got a promotion at work, something he had been working hard for. We were thrilled and decided to have a barbecue to celebrate. At first, it was just going to be the two of us, like we always do, but Alexandre had the idea of inviting some friends over to celebrate together. I agreed, wanting to make it a special day for his achievement, while Alexandre welcomed his friends, I stayed in the kitchen, seasoning and preparing the meat. When I finished everything, I went to the balcony. As I reached the door, I saw Alexandre's friends. There were about 10 people, all men. But 2 of his friends, in particular, caught my attention. They were tall, dark-skinned, with physiques to envy. I immediately compared them to the men I watched in adult videos. They were very similar. That started to awaken a forbidden desire in me. When Alexandre introduced me to them, I found out that the 2 were cousins. I was so embarrassed, I could barely hide my blushing face, the night was pleasant, and soon I started to loosen up. Everyone was drinking, and we spent hours enjoying and chatting without stopping. As time went on, people began to leave until it was just me, Alexandre, and his 2 friends. My husband was completely drunk, struggling to stay awake. I asked one of the guys, Felipe, to take Alexandre to our bed so he could rest while I stayed on the balcony, tidying up with Marcos, his other cousin. Silence lingered between us, but in my mind, I was having flashbacks of the adult videos. The situation I found myself in was just like the plots of those videos. I wondered if I would ever have another chance like this. The 2 were really handsome and very attractive. But what were the chances of this working out? What if they refused or told Alexandre? I would be ruined, Marcos noticed my nervousness and asked if everything was okay. I replied that I was fine. Just a bit tired from the busy day. He suggested that I sit and rest, then offered to give me a foot massage, saying he knew how to do it and that it would be especially good for me. I shyly accepted, but also out of curiosity, what harm could a massage do? We went to the living room, and I sat on the sofa, taking off my shoes while he started massaging my feet gently. His touch was firm and precise, exactly what I needed after such a long day. As he massaged, our conversation flowed naturally, Felipe, noticing the situation, also offered to help me relax, saying he could massage my shoulders. Laughing, I agreed. With Marcos on my feet and Felipe on my shoulders, I was surrounded by 2 strong and gentle presences. The feeling was incredible, their touch was synchronized, and I felt more and more at ease. The sexual tension between us was evident, but none of us mentioned it. The touches became more intimate, and the conversation stopped. The silence was filled with sighs and looks full of desire. It was obvious they were just waiting for my signal, I decided I couldn't let the opportunity pass. I looked into Marcos's eyes, then Felipe's, and whispered that I was ready for something more, if they were too. Without hesitation and a bit surprised, they both agreed. What happened next was an explosion of passion and desire, a moment I never imagined I would live. That night changed everything. It was an experience I never thought I would have with 2 men. Marcos stopped massaging my feet and started kissing them, moving his hands up towards my thighs. Felipe, who was behind me, leaned in and whispered in my ear, making my skin tingle, "Can you handle 2?" I got instantly wet and sighed deeply without responding. I felt something growing on my shoulder, and the more it grew, the more shocked I was. I looked to the side and saw Felipe with his tool already out. It was exactly the same size as my toy. I couldn't believe it. I even closed my eyes and opened them again. Marcos, who was caressing me, stood up and pulled out his tool. It was the same size, But Felipe had the edge in girth, that night, I completely lost myself in pleasure. I did everything with the two of them, it was something indescribable. After it was all over, the two got dressed and left. I stayed there, sitting on the sofa, reflecting on what had just happened. I looked at the bedroom where Alexandra was sleeping, completely unaware of what had gone on in the living room. A wave of guilt and regret washed over me. I loved my husband, and betraying him like that was never part of my plans, I went to the bedroom and lay down next to Alexandra. He looked so peaceful, and I felt a lump forming in my throat. I spent the night wide awake, thinking about what I had done and the consequences that could follow. The next morning, while Alexandra was still asleep, I made a decision I would never betray my husband again. The guilt and regret I felt were overwhelming. Alexandra didn't deserve this. He had always been a good husband, and I knew I needed to be a good wife to him. I got up, took a long shower, and let the water wash away my guilt and shame, when Alexandra woke up, I was determined to change. From that day on, I committed to being faithful and honoring the love we had. I never cheated on my husband again. The experience of that night was left behind as a distant memory and a painful lesson.